The following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
We are back. Bock score from Nedick's at the Old Garden. Hal Bock is here with David Hubler, and I want to know, Hal, what's the score?
Well, the score this week is how come there are so many free agents out there who haven't yet signed? It's getting late. We're going to have spring training in a couple of weeks, and usually by now you have a lot of the free agent talent is lined up and signed with new teams. But this year the pace of free agent signings has been awfully slow, and I wondered about that in my column this week.
Okay, what do you attribute it to, or do you have any firm conclusions?
Well, there are a couple of speculations out there. First of all, next year's free agent class is probably going to be the best in the history of this procedure. You're going to have all kinds of high-profile, first-class players, expensive players, and so the speculation has been that maybe the teams are saving their money so that they can get into bidding wars next year. There's another speculation. Some years ago, from 1985 through 1987, when Peter Ueberroth was the commissioner, he orchestrated a collusion. I know that's a popular word today in the world of politics, but this was in the world of baseball. The collusion was nobody signs any free agents. So for 3 years, there were very few free agents who signed. The union argued that there was collusion. They won the argument, and it cost the owners $285 million in fines. After that, the market loosened again, and it became a free market, and a lot of expensive contracts were signed. Are they colluding again? I just don't think that's the case. I think they learned their lesson last time. But there is that speculation. The fact of the matter is there have only been maybe a half a dozen high-profile free agent signings, and none of them for more than 3 years, and that's very unusual. So I leave it to you to speculate what you think is the reason.
I'll ask David Hubler.
Yeah, well, I don't have a definitive answer or reason about it, and I think Hal's probably right when he says a number of these teams are saving for next year. From what I've read about the Yankees, they seem to be waiting till the last minute. A number of the teams like the Yankees and the Astros and the Dodgers, the teams that actually, and even the Cubs, they have really good, solid teams. So they don't really have to go out at this point and spend a lot of money to augment what they believe is a pretty substantial either pitching staff or infield. So I think that maybe, I know in the Yankees case, the talk is that they're waiting next year. They'll see if they can get Manny Machado. I can't imagine that they won't if they pay enough money for him from the Orioles. But it seems to me that these teams that are really solidly built are just waiting. And like Cashman said the other day, or was implied that he would do this, he could wait. He could wait until the June trading deadline, and if they're in desperate need of another pitcher, they could. I'd hate to see them do this, but they could go out and trade some of their excellent minor leaguers to get hold of a pitcher that could bring them, maybe put them over the top, the way the Astros did last year. So that's
David, there is this. The Yankees are loaded. There's no question. They have a tremendous minor league system oozing with talent. But they are going into next season. If they don't make any moves, they will be going into next season with a rookie at second base and a rookie at third base.
Yes. You mean this season? You mean this season? Yeah.
I mean season, yeah. And the next season we have.
Right.
That's a very chancy proposition.
Yes.
Because I don't know if that's
wonder
a good
why
idea.
they
they have a murderous
resign
lineup.
Frazier, for instance.
I'm waiting. I'm wondering why they haven't. He's a New York guy, and he loves playing for the Yankees. And if he
Todd Frazier.
Yankees, Todd Frazier.
Yeah, that surprises me too. I'm really surprised that they haven't re-signed him. I think they can get him at a reasonable price, and he was an asset to the team last year. He may not be a Clete Boyer or an absolute standout third baseman, but he certainly was a solid player on both sides, defensively and offensively.
And what surprises me, guys, is that the Yankees haven't moved on Todd Frazier. Well, if I were the Mets with a gaping hole at third base, and among other places, I would sign Todd Frazier for the Mets. Again,
Absolutely.
New York guy. He'd be perfect. But
I'm a Mets fan. We had a show last night on New York baseball, and we talked about that, and we all agreed Frazier would be nice. I think Moustakas' stock, not his stock so much as his price is bound to come down with all these guys out there, and they're all Boras's guys for the most part.
Got Boras.
That eventually doesn't the price have to drop? Well,
they're playing a game of chicken. They're playing a game of chicken. Who's going to blink first? Are the players going to blink, or are the teams going to blink?
Well, I'll tell you what. I can't remember a team winning a championship in history. I mean, none that I've heard of, with two rookies in the infield. Now you've got $1 million airport. You don't want to ruin it by not paying attention to the tower, so to speak. And it's almost...
Ralph, I'm sorry I'm late.
Oh, that's all right, Al. Al Blumpkin, welcome to the show. David Hubler's here, and, of course, Hal Bock. We're talking about what the possibilities of signing some of these free agents are, and what's the reason that it's taken so long for things to be in place. The magazines are about to come out. That's how I judge we're getting closer to the season, and they must be going editorially. They must be sitting on pins and needles. The yearbooks are about to come out, not to be printed and be published. This is unprecedented as far as...
Well, you know what else? Another interesting aspect of all of this is when they trade players, they trade high-profile players for prospects. For example, and Alan would be interested in this, being a Pittsburgh guy, the Pirates traded a very popular center fielder, Andrew McCutchen, to the Giants, and they got guys you never heard of back in that trade. The Pirates traded Garrett Cole to the Astros, and the same kind of a deal. They got people you never heard of. Now, I understand that minor leaguers you may not have heard of, and they may be very good prospects, but you're trading established talent for maybe they'll be good and maybe they won't be good. But the key there is that they're getting lower-priced talent. They're saving money on the payroll. So make of it what you will.
Well, part of it, is also...
But if you weren't winning with that high-priced talent, it comes a time you have to clean house, too.
That's true.
Do you think that's what the Pirates are doing, Al?
I think they're cutting payroll is what I think.
I'm in a Facebook group called Pirate Chat, and almost everybody else is from Pittsburgh, and I think they'll have a very high rating for the ownership there. They think that all he wants to do is make money. As long as
but you can describe all the owners that way.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but
they're in the business.
This team won 98 games in 2015. They won 98 games. I mean, they got knocked out by Arrieta in the wild card game, but they ran into a very high pitcher, and since then, most of the trades they've made have not helped at all. They will not go after any free agent that's that's a star quality, and what people feel that there's people there feel as long as the owner is taking in tons of money, he doesn't want to spend. In fact, they started a petition there, which to have Manfred remove the owner from baseball. Of course, that's never going to happen.
And part of
another way of looking at all this, the old Branch Rickey quote.
A lot of people.
The old Branch Rickey quote: "Trade a guy 1 year too early rather than 1 year too late." So maybe they feel that these guys have played out their best years, and they're going to get rid of them now. I can't agree with that.
He won. I mean, he just basically cleaned house, which was kept with the when they sent Ralph Klein to the Cubs in 1953. But when he came there, the team was not very good to begin with.
And it's sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy because you have
Giants. What? Excuse me. I was just going to ask Al if he thinks McCutchen has enough in the tank to help the.
I think he has something less in the tank. I mean, I don't think he's going to be what he was when he won the MVP 5 years ago. But he's still, as long as he stays healthy, he can contribute.
He's a talented player.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've always liked him. And I thought too, these guys know what's going on. McCutchen knows what's going on. He and a couple of the guys on the Marlins who've been traded. I mean, do they really want to hang around during a rebuilding decade? They've got goals themselves. Sometimes they're selfish, I know. But you get a couple of disgruntled stars, and they're not going to be worth very much. I don't care how well they seem to want to play the game, but boy, if they're surrounded by a bunch of young rookies that have come up with cheap contracts, I can see a McCutchen wanting to move on and maybe make no bones about it.
What do you say if you play for the Marlins, the Miami Marlins, and they traded away their number one slugger, Giancarlo Stanton, to the Yankees. They traded away an ex-batting champion, D. Gordon, to the Seattle Mariners.
Right.
What do you say if you're still there and all of a sudden you're surrounded by mediocrity?
That's right. That's exactly my point. That's my point. They may even want to trade, what's his name, their center fielder, who's a very good ball player, too.
Ozuna. They traded Ozuna to the Cardinals.
No, not Ozuna. I'm not talking about Ozuna.
Gordon?
No, Gordon was already traded.
Gordon to Mariners.
What's his name?
Yelich.
Yelich is really, Christian Yelich. Supposedly he's still there.
Yeah.
He's still with the Marlins. But Yelich could be the next one to go.
Yeah, and the catcher, Real Muto, also is pretty good. He wants out also.
How about Harrison? Is he happy there?
No, Harrison said the other day that if they're going into rebuilding mode, he wants out.
That's exactly the
sentiment. Would he be a good guy for the Mets, Hal Bock?
Yeah,
I'll take him. Sure, I'll take him.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, he's a good player.
That would really, they wouldn't be needing that much if they could get him and maybe sign that. There's a catcher whose name escapes me. He starts with a Y.
Oh, LaCroix? Jonathan LaCroix?
That starts with a Y?
Start with a Y, but there was a Y in there.
That's okay.
It ends with a Y. It ends with a Y.
The alphabet confuses me on many.
Maybe you're reading it in Hebrew, so the Y comes first. Yeah?
Exactly.
Right, that could be.
All of a sudden, I have heartburn.
I think that the owners feel that one of the reasons there's no activity with the free agents is because the owners are very reluctant to give 7-year contracts like that, because the studies prove that those are disasters. I mean, the Angels have 4 more years to pay Pujols, who can't do anything but DH anymore. They have to pay him for 4 more years. And there's so many bad contracts out there where they have to pay, these teams have to pay guys who can't play. Whether or not the union is going to start screaming collusion because of this, that's another story altogether.
Yeah, well, the Yankees have an extra outfielder who's draining them financially.
Ellsbury.
Yeah, Ellsbury, yeah.
But at least he's healthy.
Yeah, right.
You look to the Mets; they've got Wright sitting around, but insurance is taking care of most of that for the Mets. So there you go. But you put a healthy Wright, which you really will never be able to do, into the middle of that lineup the way it sits now, and you'd really have something.
Do you think David Wright is ever coming back?
No.
That's spinal stenosis.
I have a doctor friend who I frequently have dinner with, and when Wright first went down with the spinal stenosis, I said to him, "Can this guy come back from spinal stenosis and play Major League Baseball?" Now, this was 3 years ago, and he said, "No, absolutely not." And so far, he's been 100% correct, hasn't he?
I have that.
He hasn't played a game since.
I have spinal stenosis.
And you have no chance of coming back.
How do you feel? Do you play third base?
Look at the Red Sox. They paid David Price, who can't win a postseason game to save himself. They're paying him $30 million a year, and they still owe 3 years at $57 million to my favorite signing of all time, Pedro Sandoval.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. They're paying the bulk of it, and the Giants are back.
He's back in the Giants organization, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
I think he is, yes.
Yeah.
But
Boston pays the bulk of their contract. I think the Giants just pay a minimum.
Matt Kemp last year set a record by being paid by 3 teams. He was paid by the Dodgers, the Padres, and the Braves. That's pretty impressive.
That's pretty good.
That's a great trivia question.
27 or so to go.
And his agent is going into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, right.
Absolutely.
And Boris is trying to get $200 million for J.D. Martinez, who had half a great year in Arizona, and who
hit 4 home runs in one game.
Yeah, well, I read can't field or can't run.
Yeah. Other than that,
make him a DH.
But what you were saying before about the yearbooks and all that, I get USA Weekly, the Sports Weekly they put out, and they've been doing profiles of major league teams. The one of the teams I did last week was Kansas City, who right now is facing the loss of Hosmer, Markakis, and Kane. And they said, if they sign, if they don't sign. And it's hard on them, but print media is, unfortunately from my end, is something that's, on the downgrade right now.
What do you say to that, Hal? Because you were in the print media and you see it as...
Why does he say that's fortunate?
No, I said it's unfortunate.
Why is that fortunate, Alan?
No, I said it's unfortunate.
Oh, unfortunate. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
I hate it. I used to get
I agree with you.
Every year. I used to get all these books every year, and Baseball America I've been getting for years, and every month I get an invitation to turn my print subscription into a digital, which I refuse to do. If I go strictly digital, that's happened to me with a few publications I used to get. I'm gone.
Okay.
Technology is your friend.
Yeah, right, yeah.
That's what they told me.
Yeah.
Here's a question I want to ask all three of you guys. There was a book that came out in the 80s that they would renew every year. It was written by Neft and someone else, and it was a year by year.
Encyclopedia every year.
Encyclopedia. I thought when that came out, I was in heaven. It was
last year they did that was 2007. I have the last edition.
Was that
Total
not
Baseball, isn't it?
What?
Isn't that Total Baseball?
What's Encyclopedia Baseball?
Yeah.
Total Baseball put out a few after Macmillan folded up, but basically everything now is on BaseballReference.com.
That's right.
I do profiles on some of the sites I'm on of players. I go to Baseball Reference to make sure I got all the numbers right and all the dates right.
Yeah, they also have a retro sheet thing where you can look up any box score of any game ever. It's unbelievable.
Well, I think that's what's his name?
David Smith, isn't it? David Smith?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like one of the things with reference is they break down for every player. They break down. When we had Ralph Terry on the other week, Ralph.
Yes.
Before we came, I went into his page on the reference, and I was able to get his. They have year-by-year hitting logs, and I was able to find out the pitcher who he hit his one major league home run off.
Right.
You want to share that with us?
I mentioned that to him. He went, "Wow."
I mentioned that. That's you can find this stuff out. Like the Dodgers of the early 50s had a pitcher named Preacher Rowe.
Sure.
Who was notorious for his inability to hit. He had one home run, and I remember when I was a kid reading about that the whole Dodger bench, when apoplectic when that happened. He hit off a Pirate pitcher named Bob Hall, and I was able to find that out off of the reference page.
Well, we had out here with the Giants, we had Dwayne Kuiper, who was a pretty good infielder, very slick, spent some time with Cleveland, came out, backed up Morgan out here. He has one career home run.
He does the announcing there, right?
Yes, he's announcing, and he does a terrific job. He's an old Saluki from Southern Illinois.
Yeah,
here's a little trivia for you. My old team, the New York Giants, had a terrific relief pitcher named Hoyt Wilhelm, a knuckleball pitcher. He's in the Hall of Fame. And Wilhelm could not hit. He just couldn't hit. But his first major league at-bat, he hit a home run.
Absolutely,
and of course, it was his only one.
There was an infielder in the 40s and 50s in the American League, primarily with the White Sox. Senators named Floyd Baker, who played 12 years and one home run.
Wilhelm played a lot of years with the Orioles.
Yeah,
played a lot of years with a lot of
the rounds after the Giants traded him. The Orioles,
we were talking,
White Sox,
or at least I was talking.
It's a no-hitter for the Orioles.
He started for them for a year and a half.
He pitched a no-hitter against the Yankees, I think.
Yeah.
I was conversing with someone who on the internet who doesn't like pitchers coming up to bat. He says, well, it's an automatic out, this, that, and the other thing. And I started listing some really good hitting pitchers. And,
Don Newcomb.
I started with Don Newcomb. You want to go? Let's go around the room, as it were. And Al Blumkin, a good hitting pitcher.
Probably the best of all time who pitched. Strictly a pitcher was Red Ruffing.
Oh, really?
One of my friends, Tom Zacco, has done a lot of research on this. And one I found the other day, because I was looking him up on reference for something else, was Schoolboy Rowe, who hit over 260. And Spahn was a very good hitter.
Was Red Ruffing not the original Mets pitching coach?
Yeah,
he was.
Listen to the Hall of Famers on that staff: Casey, Rogers Hornsby, and Red Ruffing. And I don't know if Ruffing's in the hall.
He is, yeah. He
he
won
is.
75 games. He was 30.
Certainly a great one.
Red Sox when they were
and
terrible.
They had Cookie Lavagetto with all that experience, and yet they were so bad that.
Well, that was the coaching staff. I mean, you know.
Right, that was the
coaching staff probably could have beaten the players that they had on the field there on any given day.
The players that they had on the field, were they in playing 5 years before in their prime?
Of course.
Oh,
yeah.
My God.
Well, all the major league teams had to contribute, had to put players up at risk, and the Mets could choose a couple of players from each team. And of course, as a new New York team, they got Richie Ashburn from the Phillies, and they in his latter career, they even had Willie Mays playing for a bit. And of course they got the Throneberry, and they got a bunch of guys that were really on the downside of their career, unfortunately.
But the thing is, they had a lot of ex-Dodgers. I mean,
Charlie Neal.
When we had,
there's someone who's it's always bothered me. He was Rookie of the Year in '59. 3 years later, he was not a good ball player with the Mets. And 2 years after that, he was out of baseball.
Yeah, well, Rookie of the Year was McCovey, but that's another story. But he was like a slide in as a regular second baseman there.
No, the rookie in '59, didn't Charlie Neal win Rookie of the Year?
No, McCovey. You can look it up.
Huh.
Don't challenge him, Ralph. She's got it all memorized.
I know. You can either look it up or ask Alan.
As Casey Stengel would have said, you could
look it up.
A couple years into them, they got Eddie Brissou. And I found out, I was doing some research a bunch of years ago, and Eddie Brissou is the only ex-New York Giant except for Willie Mays to play for the Mets, which I found to be unbelievable, but I did the research.
Yeah. Well, there was Hobie Landreth.
Yeah, I told Brissou this at the SABR convention in San Francisco in 1998. He had no idea. He said, thank me.
Well, Al, there was Hobie Landreth as well.
He was the first pick. He was a catcher.
But I don't think he had been a New York Giant.
No.
Hobie Landreth.
No.
He was a San Francisco Giant.
He was on the Cubs and the Reds, and I asked Casey about that, and he said that you got to have a catcher, or you'll get past. If you don't have a catcher, you'll get past balls.
Another reason that the Mets were so horrible was that between the time that the American League drafted in expansion and the time the National League drafted Houston and the Mets, the rules were changed.
Oh, yes.
I don't remember what those rules were. Maybe one of you guys could inform.
Basically, I think it was that they had to freeze, the American League had to freeze the roster at a certain point, and the National League had a point that was earlier. So the National League didn't, the Major League roster, so the American League had to put up, a couple of players like Dean Chance and Jim Fregosi and the catcher Bob Rogers, all of whom wound up on the Angels, who were, pretty good in the players. The National League, did it. They froze it before they could touch the minor leaguers, and they picked these major league players who, in the National League, who the teams were ready to release.
Okay. That was
because Paul Richards was running the Houston at the start, was really furious about what the players that the National League made available.
Well, I was an original Met fan, and I remember my expectations before they started the season, and I knew they weren't going to win the pennant. But I had no idea they'd be this bad. I thought, I don't know how the National League hid guys, made them like Chacon and Mantilla. They were valuable members of good teams.
They couldn't play.
Chacon was a utility guy with Cincinnati. Mantilla with Milwaukee. They came through a lot in limited roles, but when asked to play every day, they were not good.
The grass line was Casey Stengel was asked right before the season opened where he thought they would finish. He said, we finished September 30th in Chicago.
and he was right about that.
Oh, yeah.
And you looked that up, too. I just want to correct Mr. Hubler before Al Blumkin does. Richie Ashburn came from the Cubs.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but he'd been with the Phillies.
He was with the Phillies all his career, but he spent the last year before coming to the Mets with the Cubs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't remember
that. Now, correct me on something to make it even. We got to be even. If you would, David. You'll think of something.
No.
Anyway, George Case just sent me a little message that he couldn't get in. He waited on hold. So I'm writing him back on Facebook.
Yeah, he had trouble Sunday too.
I don't know if it's his line, but I'm writing him back. No, we're on. Try again.
Wow.
Okay. What can I do to keep it going? What is anything you guys haven't added to this? Talk hitting pitchers. Hal, talk about in your experience.
Well, Newcomb, I remember Newcomb being such a terrific hitter. I was a Giants fan as a kid growing up, and I every time Newcomb came to bat, I was scared because instead of being an automatic out, he was almost always an automatic hit, and that was troublesome to me. Warren, I think Alan mentioned Warren Spahn was also a really good hitter. So you're a complete ball player. You got to bat. I don't believe in the designated hitter. That's why Edgar Martinez is not getting into the Hall of Fame, because he was a terrific hitter, but he never played the field. He's got to be a complete ball player in my mind.
He's going to
get a Hall of Fame vote.
And, unfortunately, and when Ortiz becomes eligible the first time, he'll make it. But I agree with
that. Martinez will make it. Al?
What?
Yeah.
Al, do you think he will?
I think that there are five.
Ortiz will make it. I think the younger generation of voters, and I am an older generation of non-voter, the younger generation is much more lenient in terms of judging ball players. I believe, I grew up with a 9-man team, not a 10-man team. I believe that you're supposed to be able to field your position, you're supposed to be able to hit, and you're supposed to be able to run. And it's all part of the package of being a major league ball player. And, pitchers concentrate on pitching, and they can't hit. But that's okay. I'll accept that because at least they're specialists in pitching.
But at least they should know how to bunt. If they can't hit, they should at least be trained.
They can't even bunt today.
No, they can't.
The fundamentals of baseball have changed so dramatically.
That's right.
Sadly, players can't bunt. They put on the shift. They put 3 men on the right side of the infield. If I'm a left-handed hitter, I don't hit into the shift. I hit the ball to left field. But these guys can't do that. For some reason, they can't control. They don't have
pitchers. They don't have any minor league experience with the bat. It's all
DH
minors.
I understand that, but they have spring training, and they should be able to learn how to bunt.
Game now.
Yeah, they have drills. They have drills.
The old days you used to face a pitcher 4 times. Now it's they face them twice, and then you got the parade of relief pitchers in.
Yeah, that makes sense. What?
Did you ever play ball?
Not organized. I played some. Why? You did.
Ball, right? You played
what?
with a bat?
Yeah, of
In
course.
the batter's box, and you had a bat. Were you
Right.
able to hit the ball the other way if you had to?
That's a good question. I knew how to switch my weight and, and hold the bat back and have my hands come forward.
You had to do to hit the ball the other way.
Yeah,
there are three guys on the left side of the infield. I'm going to hit it to right field.
Well,
they had an expression for that. It was called hitting inside out. You don't do that anymore.
Or hit them where they ain't, as Willie Keeler said.
Willie Keeler.
The worst I've ever seen was Teixeira. He absolutely refused to go down the third baseline. They could have put all Teixeira. Teixeira from the Yankees, the first baseman.
Yeah.
He was a good hitter, but he was always swinging away. Always swinging for that right field fence, and they'd always put the third baseman or the shortstop all the way over on the second base side, and the third baseman close to second base, and he had to hold left side, and he never even tried to bunt down the third baseline.
Guys, there are probably going to be 5 players elected tomorrow: Chipper Jones, Vlad Guerrero, Edgar Martinez, Jim Tomei, and Trevor Hoffman.
Edgar Martinez is going in tomorrow?
Yes, he's going in, yeah.
Yeah.
They've been releasing, and everybody who, these people who have an in on how these people are voting, they're forecasting 5 tomorrow, at least 5. And Messina.
Okay. Hey, I ask you guys,
this time around.
Will Bonds and Clemens have more votes than last year?
It'll go up.
Yeah, they will. I bet they do.
They're not going to make it this time either.
What did you say about Messina?
He's going to be borderline. They're probably going to make it the year after.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
they put him in. They won't put Jim Cotton, Tommy John, who are now relegated to Veterans Committee. They won't put them in. No.
Not so much Tommy John, other than being responsible for the surgery. I guess that's.
He won over 280 games. Messina won 270.
Well, I think Jim Cott should be in there.
Yeah, Cott
was known as the best fielding pitcher in baseball when he played. So that's got to count for an awful lot right there.
Yeah, the one I'm very pro, and I'll probably never live to see him get in there. Is Minnie Minoso, who was, as much a pioneer to not as much as Jackie Robinson, but he was the first great black Latin player. He was up there 4 years ahead of Clemente.
Right. He'd be one. Still, I go back to Gil Hodges.
And the third one that I would love
disgrace.
To see is Billy Pierce, who was extremely underrated. His numbers are essentially the same as Drysdale, except for the strikeouts.
He was like 13-0 at home the year the Giants won in '62. Billy Pierce. He was terrific.
He was very good with the White Sox for years.
Yes, right.
But a Hall of Famer, Al. Is there one thing that you'd say about him that could put him over in the minds of the voters?
Billy Pierce?
Yeah.
He was excellent, pretty excellent most of his career. In the 1950s, he was the only starter that had enough innings to qualify for the ERA title to have a season with the ERA of under 2.
Whoa.
Yeah, 197 in 1955, even though he had a record of 15-10. But he won 20 games twice. Look, Drysdale, you take 3 years out of Drysdale's career, you take 57, 62, and 65 out of that. He's a 500 pitcher.
But you can't do that. You can't take.
I was going to say you could probably make that case with a lot of guys.
You go to the category between 200 and 225 wins. There are some that are in there. There's some that are not. You can make a case.
Well, Nolan Ryan is a 500 pitcher without taking many years away.
Yeah.
And he's in there.
I can go on Nolan Ryan for a long time. I am not a fan of his.
Neither am I.
Okay,
do you think he was?
I don't want to ruin the podcast for this.
Well, maybe another show.
Yeah.
I think he was a PED user.
Nolan?
PED user, but basically the thing with Ryan was the walks. You know, you compare him with his contemporaries like Seaver and Carlton and Palmer and all those pitchers. The difference was the walks.
You know the favorite Hall of Fame statistic that I love? The one favorite Hall of Fame statistic that I love. Alan, how many home runs did Joe DiMaggio hit in his career?
369.
One. No,
61.
How many times did he strike out?
369. And he hit
361, the same number.
Right.
He only hit 40%.
Now to me, that's remarkable.
He only hit
Unbelievable, yes.
He only hit 40 home
So
runs.
they strike out more by June
Yankee Stadium
than he
That's
struck.
right.
The way
You get three guys on the Yankees strike out more in one, without exaggeration, in one season than he struck out in his entire career.
Yogi never struck out, and neither did Johnny Mize.
Right.
Barrett was great at hitting
For a couple of years, I had the three of them in a lineup.
Yeah, Barrett could hit those balls that bounce a couple of, in front of the plate.
He was a classic bad ball hitter.
Tremendous bad ball hitter.
Ted Kaczewski never
Hey,
struck
did
out.
Tartabull fall out? I'm going to ask David Hubler if Tartabull fell under the same category as Teixeira, who would never go the opposite way, if you remember him being that way.
He was with the Yankees just a couple of seasons, if I recall.
He stunk with them.
Yeah, he was a big bust. I don't recall his hitting habits, but I know Mark Teixeira used to drive me nuts because he was a tremendous rally killer toward the end of his career because he just refused to go down the left field line. And he struck out an inordinate number of times.
Well, you know what a lot of it is, in my opinion? The game has changed in that the home run has become, well, it was always a glamour moment when you hit a home run, but there was a line, I'm not sure who said it, may have been Kiner, may have been Pete Rose. Home run hitters and singles hitters. Home run hitters get a lot more money than singles hitters. And so they've built the game around the home run. Look at Yankee Stadium, look at the new stadium.
Yeah.
It's inviting the the left-handed hitter to take a shot at those right field stands, the close-in stands. So a lot of these guys who have no business doing that are swinging from their heels, trying to hit home runs every time up.
Yeah,
they wind up striking out. We're hitting home runs.
I don't know why they did that. I know why they did it in one sense, but I know when they built the original Yankee Stadium, that was designed for Ruth.
Babe Ruth. That's right.
Yeah, and he had a short right field porch. In fact, I think it was about 4.5 feet off the ground was the wall before the first row of seats.
That's right.
It's higher now. But still, it's not very far to hit it. And I'm just surprised that they didn't push it out a little further. They had the room to do so. I don't know, maybe it was the attempt to sort of emulate the old stadium, but of course that didn't work either. I mean, they didn't go 481.
The old stadium before the renovations in the mid-'70s was a killer for right-handed hitters, especially out to center, left center field. Right side.
Yeah, it was 481 out to the monuments.
Yeah, it was incredible. DiMaggio hit 40% of his home runs were hit at Yankee Stadium, 60 on the road, and players like Hank Bauer and Moose Skowron, just to name two.
Interesting. We have two Yankee fans and two Giant fans. That's how Bock is thinking. You want to see a long center field. Yeah. Remember the Polo Grounds?
Right.
Yeah.
It was further out.
Check out the catch that Willie Mays made in the 1950s.
Sure, or Vic Wertz.
Yeah, that same game, right. Dusty Rhodes had a pop fly that dropped into the first row in right field down 250 feet to win the game. Yeah.
And
right.
check out the throw that Willie made to keep
Yes.
the play in order after that catch.
Right.
When he caught, spun around, and then he actually fell in making the throw.
Right.
If I recall. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it was. And he always said that wasn't the best catch to his mind. That it wasn't the best catch he ever made. I don't know which ones he was referring to, but everybody remembers.
I saw him make some amazing plays.
Yeah.
I saw Willie make some amazing catches. There was one, he was getting ready to go into the Army in 1952, and he was going to play his last game in Brooklyn at Ebbets Field. And he made a catch against an infielder named Bobby Morgan, just laid out in against the wall and speared this line drive. It was amazing. He made another catch in the Polo Grounds during the 1951 race that the Giants caught the Dodgers. He made a catch, I guess it was Ferrillo was on third base, and he tried to score after the catch, and Willie made this catch. He took the ball away from Don Mueller, and he spun around again, and he made a perfect throw to Westrom, and Westrom put the ball in Ferrillo's ribs, and it was a double play. Two amazing catches that people don't even know about. They know about the catch in the World Series because it was in the World Series. But he was an amazing outfielder, amazing center fielder. He's the best I ever saw.
Yeah, well, I remember you may have done the same thing in the old days at old Yankee Stadium. After the game was over, you could walk out through the center field exits over to the subway, and I used to do that all the time because I just was in awe of how high the stadium was and how far. I mean, and I'd stand there and I'd say, how in the world could anyone catch that small baseball that's coming at them out of the stands where you've got people, and running in one direction or the other to catch that ball. And guys like DiMaggio and Mantle and Mays, of course, would just glide right over to the ball and catch it. And you say, you couldn't even see the thing. I don't know how the hell they did it, but it was such an amazing feat because that was the stands there in the old Yankee Stadium was so high that it was like a huge monument right there.
Actually, Mantle with two of his classic home runs there. First game I ever went to in 1953, in September, he had a home run off Billy Heft that went into the center field bleachers. Then I was in the game in August of 1964 when they played the White Sox, and the pitcher named Ray Herbert, and he hit one over that. In those days they had that black thing.
Right.
Field. He hit right over that.
The bat is blind. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I agree with Hal 100%. The game is a change, and change is not always progress.
No, that's for sure. No, yep, you're right.
Hal,
there.
you mentioned Willie taking the ball away from Don Mueller. I got to tell you a really funny story, and I'm sure I might have mentioned this before, but it's 1954. And Willie beats Don Mueller out by like a percentage of a point for the batting championship. And Mueller and Mays are sitting together in the clubhouse, and they come to interview Mueller about losing on the last day of the season, losing the batting title. And he says, he says, it's not such a disgrace to lose the batting title to the best center fielder in baseball. And Willie pops up and he goes, the best right fielder, too.
After the Cubs got Ralph Kiner, they put him in the outfield, and the right field, and the left field there was Hank Sauer. And neither of them could run the field very well. They had the center
fielder was Dino Rosselli, right?
Oh, Frankie
Baumholz. Frankie Baumholz. Okay.
Said every time I read something back then, they said this guy should have been paid double what he was getting paid because he had to cover all three positions in the outfield.
Well, there was an aging Monty Irvin in left field who didn't want to. I always wondered about this, and I think it was Al Blumkin that told me the other day that Monty Irvin didn't want to play first base.
Oh, he hated it there.
Lockman had much more speed, and I always wondered why. Because for a while, before Willie came up, Irvin was at first and Lockman was in left.
Yeah, and no, Irvin really hated playing first base.
Yeah, that was the reason.
Rosa thought it was hurting him another way, so they made the switch. In fact, when Irvin came up in 1950 as a full timer for the first time, he played first base. And if you look at the old Bowman cards, they show Lockman as an outfielder.
Right.
But I have a Mickey Mantle Bowman card.
They were both very known for this speed, as a matter of fact. Very interesting. Hey, guys, this was terrific tonight. I'm sorry George didn't come in. He just writes back, no good. Just try it again. Same number, 712-789. He's got the wrong number. I've got to get back.
Oh, well, that'll do it. Yeah.
That'll do it every time. The digits. It's like change the words, change the meanings. Can't do that. I'm learning. I want to ask you guys, both authors, David Hubler and Hal Bock, what a difference the computer made in your research and for a book, and how difficult was it compared to the way it is now? Start with David.
Oh, well, it was a joy. I mean, to do the research. First of all, I could do it mostly online, at home, and I had access through Sabre to various newspapers, the Negro Press in Pittsburgh and things like that, old sporting news, through the Fairfax County Library here. I had access to the old Washington Post. It was so much easier than having to run to the library day in and day out. I used the Library of Congress, which is probably, and I won't even say probably, I'll say almost definitely, one of the greatest repositories in the world. And when people say, well, I don't like the way the government operates, I don't know, it's too much government. I say, you go down to the Library of Congress, you'll see how a government operation works. That place is just wonderful. And so I use the Library of Congress and the Martin Luther King Library down here in Washington, which is now closed for a complete refurbishing. But it was so much easier than having to go to a library, hope there's an open spot at the microfiche, and start throwing in dimes or whatever it was to print out copies, if the reel that you needed was available. Totally different world, absolutely.
That's I would have to agree 100%. It's like night and day. I mean, you can get all kinds of information in a split second, it seems like. I put in a question tonight before the show went on the air about something about the University of Maryland, where my grandson is probably going to go this fall, and I got the answer within 30 seconds to a question that neither my son nor I nor my wife knew the answer to. But the computer knows all, believe me. And,
was it an Ernie and Bernie question?
Say again?
Was it an Ernie and Bernie question?
Ernie and Bernie? That's the University of Tennessee. They played in Maryland? No, Tennessee.
Oh, okay.
Ernie Grunfeld and Bernard King. Tennessee.
Yeah, it wasn't Maryland. It was okay. All right. To errors human, to forgive divine.
We forgive.
We do very easily.
Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate it.
Ralph, I just wanted to let you know that I'm doing a program on Thursday at noon Eastern with David Finoli.
Oh, beautiful. You do a Pittsburgh show on this very network. Pittsburgh
I'm sure the McCutcheon trade's going to come up very big on that one.
I can well imagine. Hey, guys, thank you. We'll be back next week, God be willing. What Arthur Godfrey said, if the creek don't rise. Be well, gentlemen. We'll see you next week.
Okay.
Take
care, everybody.
Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll be back. I'm appreciative of the panel. Thank you again. Adios, everybody.